Countdown to Halloween 2023, featuring eerie and uncanny tales of haunts, ghosts, and suspense. October is finally here. Join us all month for special Halloween presentations on Storylink Radio's YouTube channel as we count down to Halloween 2023. Keep a close eye on YouTube alerts or you'll miss one. Celebrate October with us right here and now. Tonight's presentation from Storylink Radio. Family ties. No job too big or too small, proclaimed the headline on the colorful flyers Jamie stuffed in mailboxes all over her neighborhood. The jobs listed included lawn mowing, gardening, light housework, babysitting, pet walking. At the bottom of the leaflet, Jamie's name and phone number appeared in block letters. "This is cool," Rachel, Jamie's best friend, remarked as she slipped a flyer through a mail slot in her next-door neighbor's door. "You're going to make a fortune. How did you get your parents to agree to let you do this?" "Well," Jamie rolled her eyes, "they get to screen everyone who calls. I guess I understand why they're so cautious. Today's newspaper has a huge article about another student from junior college who's missing. That makes 3 and 5 months. That's the reason I promised that I would only pass out flyers in our own neighborhood." "Well," Rachel said, shrugging, "I wish I'd thought of it. This is going to be great." It didn't take long for the calls to start. That evening, 2 people called to offer dog walking jobs. Another called for lawn mowing. "Wow, looks like your business is off to a good start, hon," her father observed. "You'll have to plan carefully to get everything done. And remember, yes, homework comes first," they said together. "I know, Dad," Jamie grinned. "Don't worry." The phone rang again, and Jamie's mother answered it. She spoke for a while and asked a few questions, then put her hand over the mouthpiece. "Jamie, it's Mr. Hubbard over in Ravenwood. He wants to talk to you." Jamie took the receiver from her mom. "Hello?" "Hello, Jamie. I received your notice this evening, and I believe I could use your assistance." "Yeah, I'll bet," Jamie thought. In her mind, she could picture the time-worn house that Mr. Hubbard had moved into 6 months ago. That's Halloween time. It was very large, with an attic and a full basement. There supposedly were secret passageways, too. "I'd be happy to help you, Mr. Hubbard," she said in the phone. "What would you like me to do?" Just help me tidy up and care for a few things on a regular basis. You see, Jamie, I'm a historian, and I'm working on a new book. I spend my days doing research, and I teach at college in the evenings. I'm afraid I don't have time for anything else. If you come over, I could show you around, and we could settle on your fee." "That sounds fine, Mr. Hubbard. I'll be over right after school tomorrow." "Oh, no, I'm afraid that won't work. I won't be home until just after dark, okay, Jamie?" "Oh, all right, Mr. Hubbard. Would 6:30 be okay?" Yes, that would be perfect. Thank you, Jamie." "I've got another one," Jamie beamed as she joined her family at the dinner table. "I know Mr. Hubbard," her older sister Jennifer said. "He just started teaching Eastern European history at the college." She plopped a serving of steaming mashed potatoes on her plate. "He's kind of, eccentric." "In what way, Jen?" her mother asked. "Oh, well, some of the kids in the class say that he talks about things that happened hundreds of years ago, like he'd actually spoken to someone who lived back then. Her father passed the vegetables to Jamie. "That just sounds like he's a good teacher. What I've always told you about jumping to conclusions. Now, how about passing those rolls, In the failing light of dusk, the old house did look kind of creepy. As promised, Jamie was standing on the raised wooden porch at exactly 6:30. She rang the doorbell and heard it echo through the large rooms inside. But there was no answer. She rang it again and waited. Leaning out over the wooden railing, Jamie tried to peer into the window, then turned her attention back to the door. It was wide open, and Mr. Hubbard was standing there, staring down at her. "Oh, I didn't hear you." "I'm sorry," he said, smiling. His face seemed uncomfortable with the expression. "I didn't mean to frighten you. Please, come in, Jamie." The inside of the house was old and worn-looking as the outside, and as Mr. Hubbard, for that matter, but it was filled with what appeared to be valuable antiques. What particularly caught Jamie's eye was a beautiful engraved sword hanging over the fireplace. Its edge appeared razor sharp, and its hilt looked as if it was made of silver. "Now, Jamie, I'm mainly concerned with keeping the front room tidy. I don't want my special mementos collecting dust, you know. Raising an eyebrow, he added. Besides, students visit me on occasion. He handed Jamie a key. Twice a week should be sufficient. I don't mind when you schedule the work, whatever is good for you. Just be certain to be finished before dusk, okay? I prefer to have the house to myself after that. And one other thing, Jamie. He pointed to a door at the end of the hall. That's the basement door over there. It's always locked because I store my research material down there. Please don't bother with it. I have the only key. He promised to leave her fee in an envelope on the mantelpiece at the beginning of each week. At school the next day, Rachel wanted to hear every detail about Mr. Hubbard and the new job. She'd already decided that anyone who would live in that house had to be weird. I can't believe you'd really go into that creepy old place. Rachel wrinkled her nose. Jamie shook her head. Oh, it's not so bad. Besides, no one will be there to bother me. You mean you're going to go in alone? Sure, why not? Because all kinds of weird stuff is going on lately. You know why Tim Weisach wasn't in school today? His sister disappeared. That makes 4 people missing, Jamie. Something very strange is going on. Jamie remembered Rachel's words as she entered the house on Ravenwood late that afternoon. In spite of her insistence that everything was all right, something about the place did really bother her. It was so quiet, yet she sensed that she was not alone. As the feeling grew stronger, Jamie turned to look over her shoulder as she dusted. Her duster accidentally knocked over a small carved box to the floor. Oh no, I hope it isn't broken, she said to herself. Kneeling to pick up the fallen object, Jamie noticed that a word, perhaps a name, was carved into the lid. Trouves. Then she saw something glittering on the floor, something that must have been in the box. She saw that it was a ring with a large red stone and a distinctive golden letter T inlaid in the center. She was about to slip it onto her finger when a light scraping noise caught her attention. It was coming from the basement. Someone, was plodding up the stairs. Jamie looked at the lengthening shadows around her. It was late. Trembling, she returned the ring to the box, raced out of the door, and ran the 2 blocks to her home. The next day, Jamie stopped at the public library on her way home from school. Methodically, she scrolled through the computerized card catalog that referred to the subjects beginning with T, searching for the odd name that she had seen the evening before. Trouves. Huh. There were 2 references. She copied the call numbers down on a slip of paper and practically sprinted to the bookshelf. Running her finger along the rows of books, Jamie found the ones she wanted. One was a book about Eastern European nobility. It included a reprint of an aged and cracked portrait of a nobleman, Baron Trouves. Wow, she whispered softly. He looks an awful lot like Mr. Hubbard. Suddenly her eyes grew wide. His ring. It's just like the one I found yesterday. The second reference to Trouves was in a book about witchcraft and demons. Jamie found the entry she wanted and read it aloud to herself slowly and carefully. In 1517, a series of disappearances in the village of Paizen caused an outbreak of fear and panic. The blame for the missing children was finally placed on the local noble Baron Trouves. He was proclaimed a vampire and put to death by beheading. The portrait shown also looked remarkably like Mr. Hubbard, and the distinctive family ring adorned the Baron's fingers. At the bottom of the page was a drawing of the sword used to execute the accused vampire. It was exactly like the sword that hung over the fireplace of the house on Ravenwood. Jamie slammed the book shut. That's why all the disappearances. Baron Trouves and Mr. Hubbard are the same. He's been preying on the students. Jamie felt the panic in her rising. I've got to tell someone. I'll need proof. I've got to get that ring. She made copies of the portraits. In the sky, the afternoon sun hung above the horizon. It took a few minutes for her to get to the house, but there's still time. She used her key to enter and stood for a moment in the marbled foyer, straining to hear the slightest sound. Slowly she stole into the parlor. The box was as she had left it on the table. Her heart raced as she reached out her hand at Jamie, what are you doing here today? Her notebook clattered to the floor. Jamie whirled and came face to face with Mr. Hubbard. He frowned down at her and reached to the floor to pick up her notebook. I know what you are, she gasped. Do you? And what is that? You're a vampire. If that's true, aren't I supposed to be tucked away in a coffin somewhere until sundown? Jamie glanced out the window. The sun was just sinking to the horizon, but the landscape still glowed with its failing light. Suddenly she didn't feel quite so sure of herself. But the ring and the pictures. Yes. He flipped open the box and took out the ring. It belonged to a distant relative of questionable character. Supposedly he was beheaded, you know. He smiled evilly. The poor villagers didn't know that it was important to burn the body afterwards. Instead, they let the immediate family take it away. Then you're not... Jamie searched frantically for an avenue of retreat. She backed into the room, away from Mr. Hubbard. Oh, no, dear girl. I'm as human as you are. It is merely my privilege to be one in a long line of direct family members, to care for the Baron's things. You see, the Baron had a brother who did not suffer from the same, shall we say, affliction. It was this devoted brother who claimed the body and continued to care for its special needs. I am directly descended from that brother, so I suppose you might call me the Baron, my great-uncle, Many times removed. Mr. Hubbard noticed a copy of Baron's portrait that had slipped from Jamie's notebook to the floor. The family resemblance is striking, don't you think? It's a large family. When I die, there are others from the homeland who can take my place when he needs them. The last rays of sunlight faded from the window. You mean in case he ever comes back from the dead? No, not at all. Mr. Hubbard stepped toward the front door and slowly slid the bolt into place. He looked beyond her toward the basement door. Did I say he was dead? A scream caught in Jamie's throat as she turned to see the hideous sneer of the ancient Baron Trevese, who stood in the doorway of the basement. His face was as pale as moonlight, but his fangs glittered and his eyes glowed blood-red as his gaze locked onto hers. The ghastly night creature stepped slowly forward, a predator that had sighted its helpless victim. Jamie couldn't move. She was trapped. The room was filled with the stench of death. The Baron licked his colorless lips with a crimson tongue. Paralyzed with fear, Jamie realized what had happened to the missing student. Clawed hands raised, fangs bared. Baron Trevese stepped toward her. You've just heard tonight's story from Storylink Radio's Countdown to Halloween 2023. Remember to come back for our next tale. Many more stories of all genres available to listen to and read along with now on our website at www.storylinkradio.com. Visit our YouTube channel at youtube.com/storylinkradio. And visit our podcast for easy mobile listening anywhere, anytime. Just search for Storylink Radio on your favorite podcast provider. Oh, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and click that alert bell for Storylink Radio.